Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. In the studio, waiting to be profiled, is Sandra P. Grant and Alfonso Melior. Landscape artist, architect, designer, Alfonso Melior was born in Caracas, Venezuela. After high school, he came to the United States to study at Santa Monica City College, and then he went on to graduate from UCLA with a degree in political and economic studies on third world countries. How did this lead? Am I missing something? How did this lead to landscape?
Hi, John. How are you? I started working on a friend's house. He was ready to sell it, and I told him, let's just bring up this house to the major price we can get for it. And after I was finished, I led the landscape, and I realized that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
But how did this third world country stuff come in?
Well, I was planning to go back home and become involved in the political and economics development of Venezuela.
I see. So you let Venezuela down. You came and gave us
that.
Did you garden in Venezuela?
My grandmother had a farm. It was in the mountains, close to the coast, and it was just very, incredible to be around large, lush and incredible large plants all the time and be around her. Yeah.
But did you inherit her green thumb, do you think?
I think so, yeah. I think two of them probably.
But when you left Caracas and came up here to, say, the asphalt jungle, more or less, didn't that bother you, not having all these trees and things around you?
Well, I found actually Southern California to be a very comparable climate and terrain to Venezuela on the coast, Caracas, and we're very lucky to be in a land with a climate and plants that we can't really plant here. It really helps. We can get actually any type of gardening in Los Angeles.
So you can make yourself feel at home, and
yes,
you can make your gardens feel at home. What about laying out a garden? Is that the first thing when you look at a site you go about?
First, it depends. I talk to the client. I want to see what they want to acquire from the garden. Usually, lately, people want to make a room out of the garden. They want to incorporate the garden into the house and the daily living activities. And I lay out a simple plan connecting, exits and entrances, views from the inside to the outside. And I try to recycle whatever they have there.
Are there any trends? Do they use things from the past? What are the trends in the past? Let's talk about
right
that
now.
first.
The trends in the past were probably, just ficus hedges and a lot of grass and marigolds and annual plants. That's finished. Now we want to limit our grass usage and use other more native plants in the garden.
What about the future? Do you think this will carry on?
I think we're aiming to kind of emphasize trees and shrubs and limit the usage of water and fertilizers, anything that is against the environment.
That's what I was wondering. Do we have to? You have to plant drought-resistant plants, I guess.
Yeah, but not the typical cactus that we used to plant 5 years ago. We want to use now native plants, salvias, ceanothus. These are plants that tolerate water only during the rainy season and very little water in the dry season.
Do they save that water up, I guess? Do they, those
the
plants?
root systems are developed so they can, resist, a dry summer, for example.
What about color then? Do those plants have color?
Not too many, but we have a large variety of leaves that are large, colorful foliage, different shapes of plants. That really helps on the landscaping design.
Then how would you say the business works? Does a client come to you, or do you go out looking for a client?
They're usually ringing my telephone off the hook.
By word of mouth?
Word of mouth, pretty much, yeah. I get a lot of referrals, and I get to meet them in person, definitely. Yeah.
And then once you lay out the garden, what do you do with the client?
I tell her, go home and let me finish, and when I'm finished, I'll call you and see if you like it or if you like it.
So you
yeah.
do the plan
I
first.
do the plant first and show her a drawing of the plants, show her some of the specimens, and then lately we start working on it, on the installation.
We have a couple of pictures of before. Here's one before. Tell us about that.
That's the before. This is the entrance of a typical house in, this is in West LA, the typical narrow path and short steps, and she wanted to kind of make it more private and shift the straight entrance to the house.
So what did you do?
I recycled the pavement and I broke it in different large sizes so you can walk into the house.
The next picture.
Yeah. And I used the driveway. I broke it with grass in between the.
So you took the actual walkway and used that for the next walkway.
I recycled it.
We do have a picture of that. Can we get that?
Yeah, the steps on this house were really short, and I wanted to expand them. And there, you see the first path. That's the second.
No, go back to the other picture. Yeah.
That's another house, and that's the same thing. I'm recycling.
There, that now. Then the next one.
That's a, it was completely damaged. The root system of the tree had damaged the grass. So that was another point to also change the way you went into the house.
Not to save that.
No, and then we wanted to avoid going, the way that was going before. So we went almost through the side, closer to the driveway, as you can see.
I see.
And the pavements are large, so they're comfortable to step on.
I see.
And she saved a lot of money,
And then this one?
This one is at the beach, and we recycled the fence and removed the palm trees, and the client wanted a pleasant area to sit down at the beach. And this is, when we're talking about large plants, this is the type of plants I grew up with, and I want to bring those into Los Angeles, and we can definitely.
Will they grow here? What about this?
This is the after on the first picture that we saw at the beach, and you see we use ornamental grasses and limited. You see a lot of grass, but it's just basically 5 by 10, just kind of layout. He has a dog, and he likes the dog to play on the grass, and it's just very simple and clean.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
There's not too much, we want to keep the garden simple, easy to maintain.
If you take out, say, a palm tree like you took out,
yes.
Can you use that somewhere else?
I've used sometimes that for seating arrangement. I use cotton
you
trunks.
use it?
Yeah, trunks. I can do it for the base of a table, and that's also a new thing in the garden right now. Is the furniture. We want to make the garden useful, like a living room.
But you don't. You couldn't take that and plant it somewhere else because it was a dead tree.
No. You couldn't remove that type of tree out of there. No.
So, one other thing that I know you do a lot of it are rose gardens.
Yes, I have done a lot of research and studies on English roses. David Austin has developed a great collection of English roses. They have great smells, and they're more like cabbage roses, and I'd really like to use them in the garden.
But you have to put you have to do a special place for roses, right? Do you grow something else with them?
No, you can do either. Plant them just by themselves or combine with other plants. You definitely need sun and water that only heats the root system.
Do you mix other flowers with them?
If I'm gonna mix them, I like to mix plants that are evergreen all year round, since the roses are dormant in the winter season.
That's what I wondered, if there's color in between the roses.
Definitely, in the interchanging of seasons, you want to have something that stands out. When the roses are dormant. So I use lavender, salvias. Even succulents. They're good. So that's part of designing a garden. You want to plant for the year round. You don't want to plant just for the time that you're doing it. You want to see something in the fall, something in the winter, something in the spring, something in the summer.
Do you come back and maintain those gardens?
Yes.
Or do plants die? What happens?
That happens. It's like sadly, but plants do have to die. But you replace them, or sometimes you have to move them, transplant them to a larger location, or sometimes plants don't like the location and they don't look great.
And you talk about planting, but you actually lay things out. Do you buy the plants?
I lay out the plants. I design the drawings. I go and purchase the plants because I'm looking for sculptural plants.
So you have to buy them yourself?
Yes, and I plant them. Look at my fingers.
You do plant them?
My
do you?
Show them, yeah.
That proves it?
Yeah.
So you're out doing what you really love to do.
I get sunburn and I get splinters.
And do you have a big crew that helps you? Or?
I have 4 guys working with me full time, but depending on the job, I subcontract. Depending on the hardscape or the size of the job.
Yeah, if you built a wall, you'd have to bring.
I will have to hire somebody licensed to do that. Yeah.
And you
definitely.
have people that you work with.
I do have, and it's in Los Angeles. It's a mix of different cultures, and you get a lot of people with different talents that can come into the garden and do different things.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so great,
No, it's great. It's very
Alfonso.
nice.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy you were with us today, and
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that you taught us so much about the garden, because
Thank you for inviting me.
I think people don't realize how important it is to have someone with a different eye come in and look at your area and redesign it.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you.
I'm glad I was here.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with Sandra P. Grant. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with actress Sandra P. Grant. Sandra Grant was born in Canada. She's had a string of appearances on television, including a 3-year run on the award-winning soap One Life to Live. In film, she worked with director Mark Rydell in Intersection and Cameron Crowe in Singles. She's done theater. She was in Hair, Grease, and Angel on My Shoulder. Let's start with, what does P stand for?
Oh, you name it.
Oh,
Call me any of them. I probably mean them all.
Sandra P.
P. Grant.
Grant.
I like the mystery.
I see.
I do. I guess
see.
the actress in me just loves the mystery.
And did you go right from Canada to the United States? How did that happen? How did your career get going?
How did I get going? Well, it's kind of interesting. Most actresses, I shouldn't say most, a number of people believe that you get your start from soaps, or you come right out of theater school or whatever, and you move into soaps. I didn't. I'd already done Intersection. I'd already done Singles.
Oh, you
And I'd
had?
done some theater. So I'd done some prime time as well, like The Highlander and Jump Street and so forth, before I had done soaps. The opportunity came up because I've been working in the States and in Toronto and in Vancouver, that I was just looking for a change. And it just so happened that my agents in Toronto and Vancouver happened to submit me for the role, and it was a recast of Rachel on One Life to Live. And so the casting director out of New York bit after I'd sent picture and resume, and we had a meeting, and then a week later I was invited back for a screen test, and then on April Fool's Day, I'll always remember that, it's not a fool's day, it's a perfect day, I found out that I got One Life to Live.
How did you keep fresh doing that for 3 years?
It's a really, really good question. Well, one of the things I think that is, a lot of people would be surprised that doing soaps would be hard. They are hard, but also incredibly educational in that you have to work so quickly. I mean, not only are you going to have to learn your lines, sometimes you'll get 5 pages to 50 pages to learn, sometimes up to 100 pages, depending on how big your storyline is. Because you would work, say, 1 day to 4 days a week, depending on how big your storyline is.
Right.
So hence more lines. You're working with 3 cameras, which is very different from working in feature film or prime time, unless the director requests the second camera. So you're working with the technical aspects, working with your props and working with your lines, and also changes can come down from the booth where they decide, you know, you're not going to die today. We're going to, you know, you're coming back as a ghost.
Right,
And
so what
you
do
have
you
to
do?
be, you have to just pull it out of your gut and everywhere else to keep it fresh. It's what makes being an actress fun, because you get to play.
Did you get to do other things while you were doing this
Yes, I did.
daytime drama?
Daytime, yeah, out of my daytime drama. Well, what was great about being in New York was, of course, it's you know, the main theater capital of the U.S.
So that's where they shoot One Day to Live in New York?
One Life to Live.
One Life to Live?
They shoot that. I know, it's one
to
day out
live.
of our lives. They shoot that in New York.
I see.
I did a guest star on New York Undercover.
Oh, so you could you could
So
work.
if your time allowed, I mean, you had to obviously get permission from your executive producers, and I did an off-Broadway play also around that time too.
But you were really locked in. You gave up like this pretty big career. Not
Yeah.
gave it up, but you
But-
did. You moved from a big career where people really want it to be after they've learned through the soaps and went backwards.
And when, well, but you know
Not
what?
backwards, but to a
no,
different
but I
point.
think to a different point. I mean, it's like I said, it's so interesting. I think, and I believe the ones who usually whip into the primetime first after soaps tend to be men. And I say that
Mm.
because, you know, women are just there. I mean, a lot of men watch soaps. Don't get me wrong, but the men, I mean, they're the ones who have the clothes off most often. They're the heartthrobs. They're the ones who are looking absolutely
Right.
fabulous.
But that's how they get their women audience,
And it-
right?
Exactly. But, you know, hopefully with lots of great story and romance. And for me, I didn't look at it as going backwards. I just looked at it as an opportunity that I've always wanted to try.
That was great that you had the nerve to actually change your career.
Yeah, but you know, what?
Focus.
Well, I mean, it's so interesting. Some people would say, "Oh, you're doing a soap. You're gonna be doing a soap? All these different things." I
Both
said, "You know
ways.
what? I got a gig that's consistent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I want to try it out. I want to see if I can do it." And I started. The storyline I came in was, like I said, I was the third actress to come in and play this character. She was well loved. She's biracial. She, you know, part Jewish and black and from attorneys' families, and she was a drug addict. So it was a great opportunity to tell a story that wasn't obvious. And I also didn't want to do it in the surfacey, which soaps tend to get the reputation of being surfacey and all gloss. I'm not saying I'm ugly, but I wasn't worried about, you know, is my lipstick right for this particular
This
scene.
kind of, this little bit of a story takes us into Angel on My Shoulder, which you're doing. Tell us about that story, because you've done a lot of stage work. Do you like stage?
I love stage.
And
I
why
love
do you
stage.
like it? I mean, it's a different medium too. You're talking about working with 3 cameras, and now you're working just with an audience
Just with an
and
audience.
nobody.
Well, what's wonderful about that, and also very scary, is there's no cue cards. And
Can't do retake.
you can't do a retake. I mean, you can retake your line if you forget it. Oh, let me try it again. Hopefully, you know. But usually, it's just like you're just lost in a. It's like you're kind of like floating in a constellation with a team. You and your partner. You and the lights. You and the audience.
Tell us about the story, because you are depending on one other person in this play, right? The man in the play.
Well, exactly. My contact is with the gentleman who I end up conceiving a child with. It's called Angel on My Shoulder. I play Angela.
Who wrote it?
Her name is Michelle Raper Rittenhouse.
And the thing that I thought was interesting is it started out as just a read through, then it was 10 minutes, then it was a 1-act play, and now it's
It's full-fledged world premiere play.
full play.
At the Coast Theater. That's what's so wonderful about theater is it starts from a crown of a word and expands into this landscape.
So what does your character have to do? Do you have to be a different kind of person in this play than you've played before?
Well, again, it's a really good question. I mean, ultimately, every character, I was going to say every woman, but you can't play them.
No.
Every character you play brings a strong part of yourself to it, but they're all different. What's wonderful and also challenging about this part is I'm in the gentleman's reality. His name is I was going to say Joe. Joe's the actor. Joe Insco plays Luke, the mercenary soldier who I meet in Africa. I meet while he, supposedly, and you find this out when you come to see it, does he save me from a coup? I'm sorry, what was I going to say? So anyway,
So how do you get into
so
it?
yeah, what happens is the reality is where I'm in, but I'm also a memory for him, a strong memory. And
How do you appear? You appear as a in his mind?
in his mind, but in it's kind of like a spiritual reality.
So are
Put it
you
that
on
way.
stage? Do you come and go on and
Yes.
off stage?
Yes.
I see.
And you see essences of where he was in Africa, and you see the other essence of the reality of the play, where the base is in the Catskill Mountains.
So we talk about directors. I mean, this is really kind of fine point directing.
It's a fine point directing, directed by Mark Leonard. Mark Leonard is a close friend of the playwright.
Oh, so he.
So, and also a close friend of the producer, Pamela Massey. And it's really interesting because we were talking about this last night when we were coming out of rehearsal about we're actually a team of, say, 8. But ultimately, I look at it as, from how I met everybody, that it's a triangle of Pamela and Michelle and Mark.
So it's the director, the
producer,
playwright,
and the playwright, exactly.
and the producer, I see.
And why I say this, they all seem to know each other and talk to each other, sometimes telepathically and sometimes, and sometimes through just one word. But it's been a very safe environment to explore. And again, one of the things that's been great, like you said, the direct points of the director, I mean, he understands the essence of the play, and he's seen all the rewrites. I've only seen a couple.
Do you sing?
Yes, I do.
Do you sing in this play?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, good. That's
And
great.
that's also part of the storytelling as well.
But you sang in Greece.
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
I played Rizzo. I actually played Sandy too, but that was a while ago, but I played Rizzo.
So what was one of your songs?
There are worse things I could do than go with a boy or two. Even though the neighborhood thinks I'm trashy and no good, I suppose it could be true. That's a thing I'd never do. And it goes on.
I love it. And then, since you started like this, Hair, you were in Hair,
Oh,
which
yes, I
I
was in
saw
Hair.
the first time it opened on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I'm really old.
That's not what I was meaning.
I saw Jerome Ragney do it.
Oh,
Yeah, it
wow.
was great. So what did you play in that?
I was chorus.
Oh,
But I
you were
guess I
chorus.
played me. Alternate, but I got to sing, this is so interesting, White Boys, which
Oh,
for all
I
those
love
people
that.
are racially in tuned or not, it really touched off. But
Do you go around the house singing these things that you've sung for years?
no,
It doesn't come
not
to you
really.
all the
Unless I'm in a mood to just kind of explore. I'm, like just to fool around. I might.
But don't they come back to you and go, oh, that was such a great moment on stage?
If I run into some of those people, they do.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. I kind of like move. I'm such a chameleon, so I kind of move from one thing to
Oh,
the
yeah.
next.
The really great thing is you were able to work with Mark Rydell, who's a fabulous director, and Cameron Crowe, who's
He's phenomenal.
who's really good. What did you learn from these directors?
Well, my scene in Intersection was small, but what I learned from him was succinctness and fun and just play and be yourself.
It's easy working with him.
It was. I remember when we were doing the movie, his family came to visit the set, and whenever his son came on the set, because you're all in this quick kind of essence, let's get going, and then his son came to visit the set, and he just kind of melted.
And so you could see
So
the warmness in him.
Yeah.
And then with Cameron Crowe, who is a music person, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you must have really.
Well, it was what was really cool. I auditioned for a role that was really small. He wanted to see more, so I flew down to Seattle to meet with him, and I read a scene, and he loved what I was doing. And what was so wonderful about him was improv was really cool.
Oh,
Just and exploring, and just. He loves what you bring to it. I would love to work with him again.
But that's two different methods, right?
Oh, I've worked with directors who are incredibly technically sound. They kind of left it all up to you. And well, it's hard because sometimes you don't know.
Exactly.
And, you're looking for their guidance, and they're like, okay, we want this camera to do here. This is when you die, and then you fall over and make sure you land on your point. And you're like, okay. And so you
And
realize
remember
you have
your
to-
lines.
And remember your lines. But hence, that was what was great with working some of those directors, because to move into soaps, a lot of times you're directing yourself anyway. Because you get a director almost every show, and you're shooting one show in one day.
That's what I was wondering. What's the caliber of directors in soaps? Does it vary?
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
varies.
it does. For example, my screen test director who I also worked with throughout my run, Lonnie Price. You might remember him from Dirty Dancing. He played the nephew, watermelon guy. Anyway, and also was dating, working with Jennifer Grey's character in there. But he comes from theater. And theater is, I guess, one of his big loves. And so we could connect. He was wonderful to talk to. He didn't have to say a lot to me. We could just, and I didn't have to worry about ego.
So that made a great
You just
test
feel
for you.
Yes.
And so
You know what? Exactly. It was so freeing when you feel like a director's working with you as opposed to getting weird jealousies or weird politics.
Right. What would you choose to do? Be a singer, be an actress?
Well, I started in this business as a dancer.
Oh, or be a dancer?
So the triple threat thing has always been there. And whenever I get asked that question, I don't know. Like, would you rather do theater or movies? Or ultimately, I think with all of it, and I think that's with all the mediums, with dance and with singing, is I want to tell a really good story, and I want everybody to get it. And
so
that's
you
what I
could do
wanted.
it.
So with Angel on my story, which is on my shoulder, which is such a rich play, that to be able to tell this story is a gift.
Would
really
you be able to tell the story in dance? Is that, or
Yeah.
in music?
Yes.
Or in actually acting without saying any? Well, I guess dance would be that media.
Well, yeah, and I think some of the best dancers do that. They tell it from their soul out.
Well, you've really told us a lot today.
I think I've gone the whole gamut.
Did we leave anything out? Did you always want to be an actress?
I don't know if I said, I want to do this. I think I wanted to be an athlete and a dancer. I think it all kind of did that.
Oh, I
did
see.
that kind of thing.
But it's
But
better.
it's an artist, I guess.
It's better that you're an actress because an athlete's life gets pretty short.
So they say.
You've got a long life ahead of you.
Well, thank you.
Good. It was nice
Thank
to
you.
have you.
I hope everybody will come see this. It's come to the coast.
We hope that it goes to Broadway too, so we can see it in
I
New York.
would love
we
it.
want to
Thank
see
you.
you there.
Thanks
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching us on the Joan Quinn Profiles. And we'll see you next time. Keep writing. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 917. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.